And congratulations on everyone who sent in their Yonkoma, especially during the Christmas break, like
Another
that's
round of
awesome.
applause for you guys. If you
Yeah.
are coming into this session for the first time and you weren't there a while ago, for some of us it might have been this morning or maybe last night. Regardless, we want to congratulate you guys because completing a manga in general is, it's quite a task. And we're glad to see that you took the time to do it over the Christmas break. And one of the things that we were telling people a while ago is that it's a great way to end the last year and to start the new year doing something that you like and really committing to it. So, pat yourselves on the back, everybody. A round of applause for everybody who submitted, regardless if you were shortlisted or not, because, you took the step. You took the step. And
Yeah.
people who take that first step are the ones who are more likely to get where they want to be. So, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, so I think we already have a lot of people in the Zoom, so we can go ahead and get started. Yeah. Okay,
Nice
so
one.
yeah. All right. So to start the year 2025, we challenged you again to make your own Yonkoma manga. And today we're going to be giving feedback to the remaining four submissions. So we already had four submissions from earlier that were critiqued. So a total of eight. Last four is going to be critiqued tonight, this afternoon, this morning. If you all are excited, we want to hear it. Let's type I'm excited in the chat if you're if you're excited to see the last four submissions from that will be critiqued. And also I want to remind everyone, whether or not you get picked for this session, it's okay, because you there's a lot to learn from people who receive feedback from us coaches here in LTDM. And of course, you will be able to use and apply all the techniques you'll hear from us in your own works in the future. So yeah. Okay, look. All right. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of people who are excited. That's awesome.
I'm
So,
glad to hear it, you guys.
yeah, awesome. Awesome. Okay, so I want you guys to settle in and stick around. If you're an action taker and you seriously want to level up your manga art and storytelling skills, you are goal driven and believe it's your life's mission to share your story, and you're ready to commit and reach your full potential. And of course, lastly, stick around if you consider yourself a determined mangaka. You gotta own it, You want to put your story out there by joining contests and eventually work with publishers. So that's the kind of people who want to stay here. So if that's you, or if that isn't you, and then we don't want to waste your time, you can go ahead, you can get on with your day. Maybe you're just here to learn art, and that's okay. But the thing is, there are so many resources out there. Even here in YouTube alone, you can find them. But here at LTDM, we only want to work with those who want to grow with storytelling through manga, and you want to share with the world and have the determination to chase that dream and make it a reality. Yeah, okay, right. I'm seeing that the TMNT, that's you. Okay.
Indeed,
I'm not
indeed.
seeing anyone leave, so that's good. That means you're here just exactly for that. So, if you're still with us, then I just want to say congratulations. Give yourselves another round of applause in the chat. Drop that chat what do you call it? Clap emoji. Yeah, there we go.
Give us
Yes.
those emojis, guys. We are really glad to see how enthusiastic you are. And let us start the year with that, with that right energy. And let's
Mhm.
keep that going. Yeah.
Nice, nice. All right. Okay,
Really
that's
happy to see it,
good.
everyone.
Really happy to see all the hands in the chat. Okay, so now why should you listen to us? Well, firstly, we've worked with amazing manga artists like Naoya Zawa, who made Wedding Peach, and Renasaya, who has also worked on manga and collab on how to draw manga books. So together, our senseis have 50 years of combined experience in the industry. So they've done it all. They won contests, they got published, and they even taught beginner students like you guys in Japan on how to draw manga. So they definitely know what they're doing. And we're also working with Steph Pastrano, a professional webtoon artist. So he started out on social media as a fan artist to popular shonen, and now he is the lead artist to an ongoing webtoon and is working on doujinshi. And last but not the least, we recently welcomed our newest mentor, the one and only Art Crumbs, the creator of the God's Bane series, as well as the Viz Originals one shot Onami. And in the last 3 years, we've worked with nearly 400 beginner anime and manga artists. So you'll see one of our, this is like one of our students, Steven. We actually interviewed Steven a few weeks ago, last December. So here's one of his works. In just a month, he was able to improve the way that he drew Yonkoma, a lot more dynamic, a lot more action packed. We also have Garrett's progress, whom we also interviewed Garrett recently a few months ago. So here he was able to get this done in a month. His panel work has improved. His inking has improved. We've also got Raven, who was able to make a one shot for the very first time. So she hasn't been doing this for a while until recently, and now she's excited to work on more. And last but not the least, we also have Courtney's progress. So she is actually gearing up to join a contest this year. So that's amazing. Yeah. And now we're here to take you to the next level, just like what we do for our students. We want to help you create a manga that you feel proud of. And this is exactly what this critique session is for. So stay until the end for the Q&A so you can figure out how you can work together with our mentors and your fellow aspiring mangaka in the community. So, if you're ready, let us know by typing I'm ready in the chat. Let's hear it. Who is ready for the
I know
critique?
we've been asking you guys to type a lot of things, but it's just because we
Mhm.
want to make sure that you are really here and that you're paying
Yeah.
attention.
You're not
Yeah.
you're not what do you call that? You're not bots. We want to make
Yeah.
sure you're not bots.
Oh, I see my fiance in the chat. Hello.
Shout out to Coach Fi's fiance.
Hello.
Hello.
And
Hello.
thank you so much, guys, once again. It's nice to see you all here because the nice thing about these sessions is that even if you don't get picked, you can have
Mm,
so much to learn from somebody else's critique. And that's something that a lot of our LTDM students right now are able to vouch for. I think a lot
mm,
of them might be I'm not seeing many of them right now, but I am
mm.
seeing people who have just enrolled,
Yeah,
and we are gonna be meeting you formally um
next week.
in our orientation next week. And for those of you who are interested in joining that, we're gonna talk a little bit more about that at the end of this session. So since
Mhm.
it looks like you guys are ready, feel free to maybe draw along or
Yeah.
even take some notes because again today is really more about learning, and I want to
Yeah.
stress to you guys that since we are only reviewing four more yonkoma, we are only prioritizing the people who are currently in the Zoom and those who have submitted through the link that we posted in our community post a couple weeks ago before the new year hit. So
Mhm.
I don't want you to be sad if you don't see yours here, or if you didn't, or even if even if you submitted and you didn't get critiqued. At the end of the day, look at it as practice for yourself. So a lot of our students actually had been applying through these types of workshops or these types of things, and they didn't always get in like right away. We didn't always get to critique them right away. So you
Mhm.
gotta persevere. But in the end, don't submit or don't participate just because you want to get noticed, guys. Do it
Yeah,
because you like making manga. Think of it as
exactly.
practice for yourself. There is never anything bad about about continuing to create more. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So I
Okay.
think you guys are
I
hype.
think a lot of people are ready now.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So
awesome. Okay, so I guess this is the time where we reintroduce ourselves. So again, I am Coach Karen, one of the student success coaches here at LTDM. I'm a book cover illustrator and character designer who has worked with indie authors for web novels and MG and YA fantasy projects. Nice to meet you. And joining me today is the amazing Coach Fi, also one of our student success success coaches. So she has a professional experience working as an illustrator for indie games, as an animator and storyboard, and as an animator and storyboard artist for Netflix shows like Rescue Bots Academy and Hayopka. So without further ado, let's get started with the live critiques. I'm gonna go ahead and hand over the screen share to our Coach Fi. Okay, let me just stop my screen share right
Okay.
here.
I
There we
am
go.
about to share my Photoshop. So, could you guys let me know if you can see my screen? And I'm gonna be starting soon.
Yeah, y'all can drop a like in the chat if you can see Coach Fi's
Awesome,
screen.
awesome.
There we
Okay,
go.
so to start off, I am going to call on the names of the people that I'm going to be critiquing tonight. And we're going to go through your Yonkomas one by one. But this is just to inform you and so you can ready yourselves because I will be asking you to unmute yourselves and to speak so we can get to know you a little bit and a little bit more about your Yonkoma. So, first up, we have Jim from the Netherlands, I believe. I think you are here. Yes, I can see you. And then later on, we have Kenda from, I think also from, was it UK or US? I think I saw you here. I saw you messaging in the chat. I'm gonna really quickly flash the Yonkoma here.
Panda is
This is
from
by Kenda.
UK. Yeah,
There.
from
All
UK.
right, I see you. And then we have Ferenc or Frank, who is from Switzerland. Someone who entered the last challenge. I believe I can see you here, Libra Rat. And lastly, we have Megan Brown, who is I think also from the US. I think I can see all of you here. So just giving you a heads up. So prepare, because within the next hour and a half or so, I'm gonna be asking you to talk a little. So let's start off with Jim. So Jim is from the Netherlands. Let me where are you in the there we go. I'm gonna be asking you to unmute. There we go. And hi, please do introduce yourself. Tell us about your Yonkoma, what inspired it, what's it about, and maybe if you had any thoughts or realizations or struggles even that you had while you were making it. So hi, Jim. Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Hello
Um,
there.
it's about I play chess, as you can see,
Mm-hmm.
and during the holidays, well, there was the challenge, and this is an upcoming event still because it's gonna be this Monday.
Mm-hmm.
But my chess
Oh,
buddy and I found a place by a campfire, by a fireplace, and this just popped up, and I really liked the idea, and I could really put it in for panels, so that's why I chose to make it like this.
I see. I see. Did you have any particular like struggles, something that maybe you were stuck on while you were making this?
Well, yeah, it was mostly very time consuming.
Mm.
Um, that's the main part. It was I underestimated how much time I had to put in it, and so but still, I kind of did it, but it was at the last moment. And well, it's one of my first digital tryouts, so I really struggled with all the layers.
I see. I see. What program did you use for this one?
Clip Studio Paint.
I see. Okay. All right. Thank you, Jim. Thank you so much. And it's really interesting to hear that this is something, you know, so it's about chess and it's something that you do regularly. So thank you so much for sharing about that. I want to say that that's I don't know. I'm always fascinated by chess. I'm not very good at it, but it's so interesting to watch people who are really, you know, are very serious about it, especially because it's like you can see it's like you can see the gears moving in their heads when you watch them play. So I will ask you to just stay right there because we might do a little bit of a back and forth as we talk about the critique here. All
Sure.
right. So this is a really let me just pull up my notes here. This is a really cool yonkoma. One thing I want to say is it's really expressive. I really love very much how do I say? It's very much classic anime the way you drew some of these expressions, especially your opponent here and also in the last panel. I think you utilized all of the space really well. So you mentioned that you had difficulty because it took quite a bit of time, and it was,
Yeah.
you had to dedicate quite a lot of time to it. But I would say it is very much well spent. You properly used every bit of negative space here, and without it taking away from any part of the story itself. So really good job on that. Could I ask, around how long did it take you to make this, from the moment that you thought up the idea up until you finished?
Oh, it's actually quite embarrassing, but it's about, I think, 36 to 40 hours.
That's not embarrassing at all. You know what? Well, when people make, especially when they are digitized and very cleaned up like this, which is what we see here, it really will take like more than a day. So I'd say there is absolutely nothing to be embarrassed about. And especially because we are all here to learn things. One of the things I always tell our students is, if you're learning, don't feel bad about it, feeling like it's taking time, or if you're, fumbling a bit, because that's the point. You are supposed to fumble. You are supposed to, take your time in familiarizing yourself, because it's about taking in the information. We don't wanna rush that process all too much. But like I said, time well spent, Jim. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I like that there are a lot of techniques used here. Like, you use a lot of hatching, there's some perspective, and you also use like screen tones as well, and different types, different ways to color everything in. You have a very clear story, a nice way of delivering the twist, especially with the checkmate. It's very, it's giving very much underdog vibes, and I love the way that you showcased the end. So going on to the things that I think we could improve. The first thing I can say is that the aspect ratio is a bit off. So I wanted to ask, did you save this under like a different size, and did it get warped towards the end?
That's true. I
Mm.
sketched it on paper, and
Oh, I
it's a
see.
complete A4, and then I put it um, in the program.
Oh, I see. I see. So that's a pretty good way to do it, actually. So, I like to say there are 100 ways to cook an egg. And if any of you start out doing your yonkoma on paper, that doesn't take away from anything, by the way. I hope that you guys don't feel that it's any less. A lot of artists really, we still do so much on paper, even if you're already like learning or doing things digitally. And it doesn't always translate. It doesn't always necessarily translate like one to one, but those things are things that you can kind of adjust. So for here, since it seemed a little bit stretched, I squashed it a little bit to make it a little bit more proportional. Does this look a little bit closer to what you had in mind?
Yeah, it's way better.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
awesome. All right, so we'll fix that part. Another thing, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about the technical, like visual stuff before the storytelling. The perspective, it looks really, I really like how you used it. There are a few parts here that you could, let me overlay it so I can show you guys. There are a few parts here where you could improve a little bit. For example, the perspective on the perspective of the bodies doesn't quite match the perspective of the background. So you can see here the back of the chair of your opponent. It's going
Hmm.
this way, but the shoulders are not quite. It's not quite matching up. So you'll wanna. The corrections I'm going to do are very rough, but hopefully I can explain them well. You're gonna wanna make the shoulders, especially if his back is like flush against the chair. You're gonna want to make his shoulders have the same sort of angle. As you can see here, you made this character. Is this character supposed to be yourself, or just some
Yeah,
random one?
it's me actually,
I see.
and the other guy
Awesome.
is actually my my friend.
Oh, I see. It's so satisfying to beat your friend and watch this kind of face.
Yeah,
Yeah.
someone
So,
someone in the chat pointed out. I have to scroll. Someone in the chat pointed out. It's interesting how like you showed up here, Jim, dressing exactly like the
oh
way
my gosh.
that you are in the
I
Yonkoma with the
didn't
hat and everything.
I didn't have the Zoom open. Now I see. Nice cosplaying yourself. If that's even a thing.
I love that cosplaying yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
It's my everyday wear, so that's why it was very easy to characterize myself.
It's the outfit you'd wear as an
Yeah,
anime character if you it's like
yeah.
the characters that don't change their clothes.
Yeah, you could have. There's a potential to try title this. That time I got reincarnated into a Yonkoma and I beat my friend in chess.
Very good. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Okay. So yeah, we're gonna fix the perspective a little bit, and this is more on the visual. You'll wanna make sure that um, everything lines up just right. So let me go through more of my notes here. One another thing is while I really appreciate, oops, hang on. My notes disappeared. While I really appreciate that you put in a lot of detail into the background, it is because it's kind of the same values, and by values I mean like the dark to light, like from black going to gray, going to white. It's looking all of the values are the same. It's pure black and white, and at the same time it's kind of it distracts a little bit from where we want to look, which is at the chessboard and at the faces of our characters themselves. So what I would recommend here is the put a little bit less hatching so as to not overload the panels with detail. So kind of just put it in the right places. In fact, putting the hatching only on the characters and on the board, that is what's going to attract our attention there. So you want to balance things out. And again, I'm just going to do this very, very lightly. I'm gonna very barely remove some of this hatching and try to see how it kind of directs your eye a little bit more towards you and your friend. Again, very roughly, but I'm going to take away just a little bit of it because you already have a lot of detail everywhere else, and we don't want to take away from the actual story. The hatching here, like on the arms and everything, is pretty good. In fact, I'd say you could probably leave the hatching only on the characters because it's going to bring them forward into the scene. So look at that kind of difference, especially because these lines are around the characters. I'd say also the table, you could remove a little bit of this and maybe or leave just a little bit under the hands just for shadow. So look at this. Let's compare. I have an overlay here, but let's compare this versus this. You see how that little
Yeah,
detail makes a huge difference
it
here
really
as
does.
well. Here as well. In the fireplace, because this is like a very stark contrast, so we call the values are very what's the word, the range of values is just stark black and white. I would say replace this with a screen tone that makes it look a little bit more faded into the background. So again, just gonna go over it very lightly, maybe a little bit lighter here. Actually, I'm gonna use a lasso tool for this one. So watch how that actually brings out the characters in front. I already like that I already like that you gave yourself, you look like the main character of this one. So as for your friend, we'll balance things out by maybe let's add something a little more. Um Like, hang on. If I were to, I'll hide this other layer for the time being. But maybe you could make like this part of his undercut a little bit darker, just so that it kind of levels out. Or you could make his pants a little bit darker. Maybe make his beard also a little bit darker. Essentially, you're kind of almost matching how dark the black is here that you have on your shirt and
Hmm.
on your hat and hair, so that we know, okay, this guy, we're supposed to pay attention to this guy. Another way that you can bring your characters out is simply to put an outline. This part is kind of a that part is more of a suggestion, but it's something that we gave, it's a piece of advice we gave earlier to one of the other artists who
Yeah.
also submitted to the earlier session. Yeah. So just to bring them out a little bit more. And then going back to the actual, the the spice of the story, which is the chess pieces. I'm thinking that they blend in a little bit to into the board. So if we
Yeah.
can see here your bishop, I it's hard to tell that it's a bishop until I see those little lines here. So we're gonna follow that outline thing that I just mentioned, and then maybe we can make the outline of this one white.
Oh, yeah.
There we
Sure.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see how that gives a little bit more. Here with the white pieces, we're gonna make it a little bit darker. I'm gonna remove this I'll remove the overlay. It doesn't do much. So another thing that we could do, especially because you're working with pure black and white, over here, and we have the
Yeah.
king. Subtle details just to bring everything out. Another thing we can do is simply to add finer hatching. So, like I said, we are bringing out these two characters in the foreground with that hatching. In the same vein, we're going to do the same with our pieces as well. And maybe you might want to substitute the black checkers of the chessboard with a similar screen tone to this one. Oh, sorry, super thin. So just so that it's not too harsh. So again, I am going to just barely, like really, really barely simulate it. Very rough. So forgive me for it being a little bit
Mm.
messy. But imagine if you had this kind of texture. Let's see, like for example, let's put it here. And oh, my bad. Like just doing something like that makes it a little less harsh. Yeah. And then, hang on. Looking through my notes.
Yeah, I think in if you're using Clip Studio, you could get away with selecting it and dragging and dropping your what do you call this? Your screen tone asset.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how you do it because,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So
Yes.
it's like a hack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're making any kind of like illustration or manga, you always want to make sure that the thing you want your readers to really focus on is brought forward. So that is why I'm putting all of these outlines and kind of um I'm making a little bit of what's the word? Oops, my bad. I'm fading some things into the background so that we focus more on what is in front of us. So I'm also gonna do that here with the wooden walls and
Yeah.
also the brick itself. So we're not necessarily like editing too much. We're just like toning down everything else. So see how that makes like we're not done here yet, but look at the difference. Oops, yeah. Look at the difference that this makes already. So
Yeah.
going here, uh I think you might because you did a checkmate here, right? And you kind of moved the arm like towards here. I think you might want to put um how do I say this? You might want to adjust one of these arms, like one of the hands here, to make it closer to the original place of, was it the, I think this is the rook, or sorry, no, I mean the bishop. So
Bishop.
it's on here. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think this is where I got a tiny little bit confused about the placement of the pieces. So we want the continuity, right? And we know that your character, aka you, he made a move, a single move, and then he got to the checkmate.
Yeah,
So I'm thinking it's a little bit unclear which square that it was at. So you wanna make like the character hover over, maybe hover over,
the
let's just
right
say that this
square.
is the, let's just assume that this is where it came from. You might want to make the character the hover the piece over here a little bit more, and then put like the little shaky lines, just so that it's clear that I came from this spot, and it's like it's connecting these two panels, like the continuity. And then and then that's when he makes his checkmate
Yeah,
Coach
here.
Fi.
Oh yeah, did you want to add something, Coach?
Yeah, so sorry to like interrupt. Like I
Yeah,
wanted to like make a suggestion because I know
yeah.
that your panel 2 is gearing up for the twist on your third panel, the checkmate. So it's interesting that you chose like a pretty, what do you call it, Coach Fi? Like a, I think you were doing a bit of like a distortion in your panel too. And there's a way that you could just push that even further, by making the your hand holding the chess piece be the moment, be the focus of that panel.
Mm.
It's like, I would say,
So it's like I
get
think we
away with
could get this.
foreshortening.
So for
Yeah.
example, if I were to make a suggestion for that panel, I'll make a thumbnail of it here. Let's
Mm-hmm.
assume that this is the hand, and you're holding the chess piece. Something like that. Like it's more zoomed into the hand. Maybe make some dramatic shading here.
mm,
Yeah, like you could still keep the same composition, except that the
zoom
hand
in.
becomes more zoomed in. Yeah, like that's what we call like for shortening, the extreme. You could use an extreme perspective, just like what Coach Fi shows in the thumbnail.
Yeah,
Because right now, if say I were to isolate just your panel 2, your original panel 2, um and I didn't see your panels 1, 3, and 4, I would not know what's happening. Are you losing? Are you like thinking of, okay, what's my next move? But if you like do a composition where you have a focal point, a focus point that foreshadows what's gonna happen in your next panel, that's gonna give a bit more context to what's going on in this panel alone. Yeah. Okay, so I hope
yeah,
that, yeah, just wanted to throw that out there because I
yeah.
see the potential.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Thank
basically
you.
we're hovering over that moment. The suspension. This is
Yeah,
suspense, not suspension. Yeah. I did want to ask. I think that you have a really you're very keen on the expressions. So, did you want to, if like with regards to like Coach Karen's suggestion, is this something, did you want to focus on your expression more, or, or
no,
on the board?
no, it's exactly right, on the board, because I made up the expression to match the
I
rest of the
see.
scene, but the
Okay.
scene was really that the chess piece is being moved.
I see. Okay. So I think Coach Karen's suggestion is something that you could definitely do. Okay.
Yeah,
So, um, hang on, just looking through my other notes. I think so. This is the big, the big twist, the big change in the story. And one thing that we can improve here is that your focus is, although you have your focus on your opponent slash your friend, the moment we kind of lose a little bit of this like excitement, because the moment
yeah,
is all the way down here, and it's a little bit, it's quite small. So what I would suggest is something also similar to what Coach Karen said, which is maybe we could we could make a panel that is similar in composition, but we're gonna make it a little bit tighter. And we are going to make this part, the part that you like tap the piece on the tile that is going to result in the checkmate. We're gonna bring it a little bit more towards the middle. So I'm going to make a little bit of a thumbnail about it.
Mhm.
And if you guys don't know, thumbnailing is an essential part of making manga. It is essentially making small, very undetailed sketches that are just for layout. Like what I did here exactly. That is what thumbnailing is. Like it's still a hand. I'm not gonna draw all of the details just yet. The hatching or the or the any of the other details. It's just a guide. So what I would suggest here is maybe you could put the you could put something like maybe here, like a close up of a little bit of a close up of, oh my gosh. Sorry if you hear anything in the background. It's my cat's making a mess again. So let's assume that this is the chess piece, okay? And then, oh, sorry about that. Let's assume that this is the chess piece. Maybe this can be like your hand. And there are probably a bunch of other ways to do this. This is just one. So let's assume that this is your hand. And we could put in some dramatic perspective here where you can put a little bit of the tiles and everything. And then this is your maybe your friend's piece is over. Oh, actually, I think I might have I should probably like switch these. Hang on. Let me flip this around. There you go. I think this is more accurate. So let's assume that your friend's piece or your friend's king is over here. Looks more
Oh.
like a rook rather than a king. So I'm taking a very dramatic approach to this, but you can put some of your what we call manpu, which is kind of those little symbols that you see that are um unique to manga and anime, which you've already actually put like here. Things like these. Oh, sorry, here or the shaking eyes or things like that. So maybe this is where your friend's piece is. And then for your friend, I'm going to use green. We can still keep his expression. In fact, I'm probably going to copy it just to save us some time. And then we're going to put it in the background here. So maybe he's like holding the table and he's reacting like, "Oh my god, why did I not see that coming? Why did he do this?" Like emphasizing this expression like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it." I hope you guys can kind of get what I'm trying to depict. So maybe he's still clutching the table. We can keep the exact same thing, but make it like in the moment. And if you still want to include like maybe an expression from yourself, we can use the negative space here. And then we can add some manpu, like a little emoticon bubble. So for example, this is something that we saw early in the earlier session.
Mhm.
So maybe this is you, and then you're like, ha, you're smug. I got you. I got you, and I'm about to win.
You're like, get punked.
Yes, I get right. Something as simple as that if you want to show that one. So there is your twist. And then it's more of just reframing what you already made. So we're not changing up any part of the scene except like the angle and a little bit of the framing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the last part, when we fill in something completely with black in manga, that is called a beta. It's different from like the English understanding of the word beta. I'm not quite sure why it's called that, but that's kind of the method that it's used. So It's used for a bunch of things, and I really like that you were really creative with this last shot. One thing that we can use to improve is again a little bit more outline, and you could probably even put more like screen tones, but make them like light, because I love this like smug expression here. Like it really drives the point that I just won. It's like in your face, but because everything is in thin black and white lines, I'm not seeing so much of the expression itself. It's a bit hard to see, and we wanna put emphasis on the humor in this. So maybe you could make some of the elements here a little bit lighter, just so that it balances it out a bit, and then we can leave maybe the background as the black part. So again, more of a
Oh,
suggestion here. Let me just enlarge the brush. Maybe your shirt is a little bit brighter because we can see that you made the beard white. So we want to make it a little bit level, right? Maybe you can shade in the hair of your friend as white. I actually also just now, as I'm doing this, just now noticed that your friend has a cigarette here, and I only saw it here. Another thing we can do to improve that is to make it, more obvious that he has a cigarette in his mouth. So you wouldn't really wanna put it towards the side. You'll want to make it stick out a little bit more because the reason I didn't notice it is because it blends in with his face. So let's make it stick out of his mouth here. And then let's make the smoke rise a little bit more. And of course, we're gonna lessen the detail here in the background so that we can see it. Same
yeah,
here for continuity. Let's keep it on your friend's right side. Maybe even, you know what, for comedic effect, you could use it to your advantage. Maybe he's biting so hard and shaking that some of the ash start to fall,
yeah,
something like that. You can see the shaking of your friend. In this new shot, you can probably do something similar where it's like, oh, the ashes are falling because he's so shook.
yeah,
Here as well, we don't want there to be any tangents. A tangent is basically when one shape kind of collides with another in a way that kind of disrupts the flow. So the way I explained it a while ago in our last session is if I made a circle and I drew a square here, they're not touching, and that's not a tangent. If I drew my circle behind the square, it's still not a tangent because you can see the lines. They're like, okay, this is a circle, or this is a circle and the square is in front of it. But if I drew a circle and it is like directly just on the border of like the lines of the square, that is what we call a tangent, because it's like it's a bit confusing to the eye. It's like, okay, are these is this one shape, is this two shapes that are next to each other? Yeah, so we want to avoid that here. So instead we are just gonna make the smoke rise up a little bit more here. Maybe keep the cigarette here in the side. And I like uh I like this. A suggestion that I could make is you could make it funnier if you probably zoomed in on this part, like a little bit more, and then made the faces kind of like I don't know how to explain it, so I'm just going to draw it. So for example, because your friend is like annoyed that you won,
yeah,
maybe his expression could be something like those emo lines. It's like, oh, fine, fine, you win, whatever. And then maybe you could be on the side here. I'm gonna extend the jaw a little bit more. I'll extend the jaw a little bit more, and maybe you can have like a little devious smile. Something like that,
yeah.
just to add to the humor of it. And yeah, what do you think, Coach Karen? Anything else you think you might have to add?
Well, I mean, I guess for your last panel, I wanted to clarify, Jim, like, did you want the focus to be more on, I mean, here's the thing. I wouldn't want to change it. I think it looks good as is, plus Coach Fi's suggestions.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm also thinking there's an opportunity for you to utilize something similar to what we see in Naruto with Haruno Sakura. You know, like the
That's
inner.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
the inner
I think that.
Sakura.
Yeah, I think that's what you were going for here because
yeah, yeah, that's exactly what I was
yeah.
going.
So
Yeah.
I felt that whatever's happening there in the top middle, it's a bit too small, so I didn't immediately see it. So because I did not immediately see it as an observer, as a reader, I thought that it immediately went into their internal monologue or internal feelings as opposed to what happens in the aftermath of the competition. So I would say maybe you could make that a little bit bigger. So that could be this is an alternative. This is more of a subjective opinion. Not it's not something that you necessarily need to do, but I'm seeing the potential of that being your focus in this final shot. It could be the focus in the middle, and then you could keep whatever's going on in the internal monologue between you and your friend. I finally won, but they're gonna be a bit towards the side because we still see the interaction happening in the middle where you and your friend shake hands and you're trying to be kind of professional about it. You're trying to be like, you're trying your
Mm.
best not to gloat, but you're gloating, and then your friend's trying to be like, yeah, yeah, I accept defeat, and then like, but in reality, he's like barely trying to keep it together. So I don't see that happening because it's too small and pushed
Oh,
up
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's something that you could do like if you ever decide to like maybe draw this again. I would say I think it's gonna add to the comedic effect if we have the opportunity to see what's happening in real life in the moment and what's happening internally, in your mind and all that. Yeah, yeah. So something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
the good. Yeah. All right.
I think
Okay.
a way that we can do this in thumbnails is we're gonna
Mm,
maybe we could like remove this lower part and then make the thing in the back with the interaction a lot bigger. So just like what Coach Karen
yeah.
said, something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. And again, that is what you
Mm-hmm.
call thumbnailing. So yeah,
Yeah.
actually, other than that, this is the critique that we have for you. I really love this. This is really well
Yeah.
made.
This.
I want to
Thank
ask,
you.
do you have any clarifications, any questions, any particular insights from this one, maybe that really stuck to you that you think you might be able to apply, or anything else you want to share about this experience?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for this. It's really good. I'm really impressed by your drawing as well.
Thank you, thank you.
And I do one question
Of
because
course, of course.
you talked about the shading and the hatching.
Mm-hmm.
Is the background just no shading or less shading with hatching, or do you say use gray tones or something?
That's a good question. So, this is something that I wouldn't answer with a solid, like, oh, you should use this, you should use that. It's more of your goal is to make your characters pop out. So, what I would advise instead of like pointing to a specific thing is try a bunch of different methods. And I know it does sound
Mhm.
tedious, but it is how, artists discover. Try
Yeah.
to see, maybe go back to this file, go back to this panel, and then try to see, okay, what if I use gray instead? Does it make the characters stand out more? Or maybe, and maybe you can do a second one. What if I use screen tones? What if I put no detail at all? Try to experiment with those, and it's a good way to ask for feedback from others as well. Like have a friend look at it and like compare and contrast. Ask them like, hey, is this kind of is this looking like it's blending into the background too much? Is this does this make my character stand out from the background more? Yeah. So while I
Yeah,
don't have
just
a specific, the specific recommendation for what you should do, it's up to experimentation because that's where you are really
Yeah.
gonna see what works for you.
yeah, definitely agree. And I also want to add to what you said, Coach Fi, because that's really interesting. The thing about experimentation, whether you choose to decide, whether you choose hatching or screen tones, this is where you can apply a foundational skill. We call it like variation in tones, the values. So you choose maybe three values. So you have your darkest dark and then your least dark kind of shading. So that's where you kind of you make the distinct, you use those references, those different shades to make the distinction between what you want to pop in the foreground, what you want to be a little bit in the background. Because the fact of the matter is, if you look at other manga, there are lots of mangaka that do things differently. If you look at seinen, you don't really see screen tones too often. They rely more on like hatching, cross hatching, and sometimes you'll find in shonen and in shoujo, they use screen tones. They use a mix of both. I think Masashi Kishimoto doesn't use screen tones too often, especially towards like the Shippuden
Yeah.
chapters. So that's something that you could, so it all boils down to what you feel comfortable using. Just make sure that you apply this concept. Like you choose which parts you want to be the darkest and make a distinction between what happens to objects and people nearest the viewer and furthest from the viewer. So that's a bit of like review. And this is why we like the fundamentals, the
Yeah.
basics. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I hope that gives you a bit more insight. Just to add on to what like Coach Fi said
Yeah.
a while ago. Yeah. Oh
Thank
yeah,
you so
and
much.
you're welcome. You're welcome. Oh yeah, and one. Sorry, if I'm gonna yap a little bit more,
Go
but this
ahead.
is this is just a bit of a tip for everyone, not just for you, Jim, but for everyone who's doing manga, Yonkoma. This is something we discussed with the people who with the peeps who attended earlier. When you're drafting or storyboarding your manga, we recommend doing thumbnails first because that's gonna help you resolve any spacing issues or composition issues that you may encounter when you're working on your final. So, for example, if you're not sure about how a certain camera angle looks in a panel, you can get away with that by making thumb-sized sketches first of a scene. So those small rough sketches that Coach Five did. So those are examples of thumbnails. So before you get to doing your final yonkoma, we recommend doing rough sketches, rough thumb sized sketches first. So you could find the panel, the scene that you are most happy with, that best represents what you want to convey in your story. Yeah, so just tip, a quick tip. Yeah. And back to you, Coach Fi.
Yeah. So, if you don't have any other things that you want to clarify, we can wrap this one up, and then we're gonna move on to the next one. So I hope that that was helpful to you, Jim.
It really was. Thank you so much.
You are very, very welcome. We'd love to hear more of your takeaways later on. So, okay, without further ado, let's move on to the next one. I would like to call on Kenda. Let us hear from let's hear from Kenda so that you can unmute and then tell us a little bit more about what exactly this Yonkoma is about. Oops, there we go. Where is Kenda? I'm about to ask you to unmute. So I would like you to, just the same as what we did earlier, please tell us what this Yonkoma was about, how you came to like uh how you uh came upon this idea, anything that went through your mind while you were doing this. So yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Hello.
Hello, sorry.
No
So
worries,
my
no
name's
worries.
Kenda. How's everyone doing?
I hope we are all good. We are all good. Yeah.
Yeah. So the general idea when I came up with this is because this always happens to me, not just in work but in general, is where when someone meets you, they say your name, it's like, oh hi, how you doing, and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't really know their names, but you just kind of carry on with the conversation. So that's how I generally got the idea from. Because and mostly it happens when I'm at work. Because I'm thinking, how did they know my name? Like, I don't know who they are. So I just came up with that general idea, and I think from that, um, those characters, I've been continuing using them as well for other, um, I guess other Yonkomos as well.
Oh, that's cute. So it's like they're recurring characters in your art.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's cute. Okay. Did you particularly struggle with anything while you were making this?
I think it was mostly just like the background and just kind of giving it sort of uh, an environment, so something like with One Piece's
Mm-hmm.
backgrounds, like it feels like it's been lived in, and I feel like that was the difficult part. Even if you go down to the third panel, it looks bland. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing. It feels like there's nothing there. You can't even tell it's a kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go to the other two panels, it's detailed, but not as well as you think. But the
Mm.
general idea I wanted was to kind of give it a boring office vibe.
Mm, I see. Okay, that does make sense, especially because it's the perfect place to forget about your coworkers' names.
Yes.
I see. All right. Thank you, Kenda, for telling us a little bit more. That does actually give me a little bit more context as to what is happening here. So, I hope that you guys are able to read and see the Yonkoma right here. And I really like that you're using like recurring characters. I love. I don't know. It's just such a nice quirk that I like to see in people's art. So I'm gonna start off with our comments in general. I really
Mm,
like your style. It's very cute, very rounded. I can see that I know that you mentioned that you struggled a little bit, but I can see that you have like various techniques that you used, and it looks like you're pretty familiar with the software that you're using. Because like I can see some screen tones here. I can see that you kind of varied the line weight, or the thickness and the thinness of the lines here. I can also see that there is the perspective is at work. We're gonna get to that in a little bit, but you're definitely like there is solid experimentation and a little bit of mastery that I can see here. So you know what? I know that you're worried that maybe the third panel looks a bit boring. We will get to that in a little bit, but you did really well. You did really well. It looks very crisp, and I hope you pat yourself on the back for that. The line work is super clean. It's also simple and funny, and for those of you guys who go to work, or honestly even if you're not working, even if you're at school, sometimes you'll have people who are just like, hey, how are you, and then on the inside you're like, haha, who is this? I've encountered people who are like that. My fiance tends to be like that. I also tend to be like that. I wait for somebody else to say their name, and I'm like, oh gosh, can somebody please call their name so I don't look like I'm making a fool of myself? So it's very, very relatable. So, going over some of the technical things, I did a little bit of an overlay here. And with regards to your third panel, I'm going to try to get to things in as much of a chronological order as I can. So, pardon me if I'm a little bit disjointed. But
no.
one thing is, I would like for you to really emphasize that your main character Shimi has forgotten her name or doesn't know it at all. And I know that we see that here, but I think it would be good if you gave a couple of tiny, tiny, like little, like foreshadowing, like bits of foreshadowing. So maybe when she says hi, instead of just, oh, hey, how you been, girl? It could be, you could like put some more impact in just by putting something like an ellipse. So instead of just hey, how you been, girl, maybe it's something like oh, oh wait, let me. I hope my text tool doesn't fail me. There we go. Let me try to make it a bit bigger, just as an example. So maybe it's something like oh, it's you. How are you? It's like you're kind of putting in a little bit of the awkwardness already without fully saying it, because something like oh it's you, it's kind of giving the impression that does she not want to call this person by their name, or maybe she doesn't like this person. How you been, add a little bit more awkwardness into that dialogue. Um so another thing is the twist, or the particular change in the story is in the last panel rather than in the third. So if you guys have been watching our YouTube channel, we've talked about Kisho Tenketsu. We've also talked about this in the previous critiques, where that is the four-act story structure that manga follows. So you have the Ki, the Sho, the Ten, and the Ketsu, which is the beginning, which is the exposition, where you lay down the situation. Panel number two is supposed to be where you see a bit more context and development of the story itself. So we see they're having conversation. Panel three is where you're supposed to see the twist or the change. And it doesn't need to be like conflict. Um it doesn't need to be something super groundbreaking. It's just as simple as, oh, there's a slight change in the story that directs it in a different direction. In this case, your twist is the fact that she doesn't actually know who this coworker is. So we would kind of want to put that implication here in the third panel, because panel 4 is where the reaction of all of the characters to the situation is going to be. So, all of that said, maybe what we can do here is shorten the dialogue a little bit, and we are going to combine some elements of the panels so that we can still sort of keep the flow that you've set here. So I'm gonna number them 1, 2, 3, and 4. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put a little bit more of we're going to restructure them. So the new panel 1, I would recommend, has almost the whole conversation, along with her forgetting the name. So maybe we start off here. I would put the bubble of the nameless girl over here. So she calls her by name. Hey, Shimmy. I would put it over here. And then maybe here, your main character could look over to her. Oh, sorry if you hear yelling in the background. That is a cat. That is not a person. But maybe your character can look over here. And then this is where she can say, "Oh, hey, it's you. Hi." There we go. And then maybe we can add someone who her expression could probably I understand that it looks like she's trying to be polite, right? It's kind of the thing that you want to do at work. But since we want to emphasize that she is kind of bewildered, like, hey, wait a minute, who the heck is this? Maybe maybe she's like oh, hi, hello. And then um you can put a little bit more of the conversation here, maybe an extra bubble of this. I'm gonna designate them with I'll make blue the color of the nameless girl and red the color of Shimmy right here. So maybe you could continue the convo here, but we want to shorten that. So it's a little bit long, so we can shorten it a little bit, like hey, I just wanted to say hi to you. I got back from Greece with my boyfriend, and the advice you gave was really good. Thanks for that. So we have a Yonkoma, and we don't have much to work with, so we don't want too much text. We just know that she's making convo. It seems that she's really like familiar with Shimmy. So we can get that feeling from just a couple of lines of text here. In panel 2, we can restructure it by we're gonna combine some of the elements of 2 and 3. So the new panel 2 is where the convo is going to end. So it can be something like um she's talking, this is probably where she says something like oh yeah, so thanks for that advice. I kind of have to, blah 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 blah. In fact, to show even more of her being like chattery and like really friendly, you could do as simple as a speech bubble and squiggles, like you might have seen this in some manga as well. It's just like blah, 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 blah. Like not even actual words, just squiggle squiggle squiggle. Or you could even, another way I've seen it done is the speech bubble and then actual text, but it's like continuous. If you for example, I'm gonna color this blue. Blah 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 blah. So it kinda like there's a little bit of an overlay, something like that. You could do something as simple as that without us
Mhm.
having to actually read what's in there. So again, as I say, 1,000 ways, 100,000 ways to cook an egg. I keep adding more ways. But yeah. So this is where the conversation can sort of it's going towards an end. Like maybe Shimi says something, just to fill in the silence. You could probably add some manpu, like a sweat drop over here, like okay. You could even add you could add a few more like ums and ahs and like that awkwardness here in panel 3. One thing that I did to improve this is the balance is a little bit heavy on the right. So it's something that we mentioned in some of our previous critiques as well. So what I did is I just like lasso tooled this one and I moved Shimmy and this little character over here a little bit to the left. And I know that you mentioned that you're worried that this looks a little bit, off, and you did want to give it the feel of like a boring office. I'd like to say I think you did that. It pretty much seemed that way because it's like, oh, okay, they're having coffee, maybe they're on their break. It seems just about the case. If you're worried about not it being not necessarily interesting enough, I'd say focus on making few but significant details. So you don't even necessarily have to render the whole background here out back. In some of these panels, all like this, what you've done here with the coffee break table, it's already really good. We just want to move a couple of things here to the left. You could add something simple on the right, like I don't know, maybe a wall clock or maybe like filing cabinets, and it doesn't have to be a lot. For example, a piece of furniture here, maybe a chair over here. As simple as that, that is already enough. Or maybe like another rug. It doesn't have to be detailed. Something simple like that. You don't have to fill the whole room. And because as with what I mentioned to Jim earlier, you don't want to focus on the background. You want to focus on the characters. So even if you want to put more context of this being a boring office, your lines can be absolutely simple. The chair can be as simple as this, this, and that is it. You don't even have to add any shading or whatever. So keep the focus on your characters. And then, um, this is where we can see the end of the convo. So maybe this character over here, she's like, okay, I gotta go. Bye. And because this is where we want to put the twist, maybe we can make Shimmy's expression a little bit more awkward. And maybe she's like looking at her. She's kind of like, okay, bye, I think. And then this is where maybe we can actually move this smaller character a little bit. Oops, excuse me, my cat is trying to steal my food. No, baby, don't do that. Maybe we can move this character a little bit to the left so we can make some room for some dialogue. I'm gonna shift what I did just a little bit. So maybe, uh, carrot. Please go down. My fur babies are always at the scene of the crime during class. So maybe she's whispering to this person, right? So maybe you could. I want to say I like the sequencing of events here because since this is left to right, her, we see this girl leaving first and then going to the left. It progresses, even though it's in the same panel. So good job on that one. So maybe this is where Shimi says, I don't, what was her name again? Something like that.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna put more of a, oh, I think my Photoshop is disagreeing with me once again. Never mind. There we go. Since that is where we're putting um, the whole twist, maybe make this a little bit bigger so that our audience can actually see it. The other girl's dialogue can be like, okay, see ya. Here on the right, so that it's seen first before. Oh, sorry about that. It's seen first before the rest of the dialogue. So we want to emphasize the whole I don't actually know who she is moment. Here, in panel 3, you in general you can keep the layout. We're just going to move things around a little bit to make some space for the dialogue and, a little bit of the changes in expression. And then in the last panel, you could, I would say, um, this is where you can put a bit more emphasis on this character. I'm going to use green. I'm going to use green for this. You can put more emphasis on this character, really exaggerate the expression, the body language. Maybe maybe he's going like, "Hey, I don't know." So he's shrugging his shoulders. Um, maybe actually, I don't know if this character of yours can talk because
Oh,
some
he
people.
doesn't.
Oh, he
Is
doesn't talk.
no,
Okay,
no, that's why he has no mouth.
I see. So that makes it more interesting because all the more you want to convey it through slightly more exaggerated, like body language, because that's all he has to go off of. I like that. I'm honestly very curious about these characters. So maybe Shimi can be all, I don't know who that was or what happened, but I don't know her. you know, um, a little bit of um a little bit of an extra to this end of the conversation. Maybe, and actually another funny addition to that twist is the fact that this character also doesn't know who she is. At least that's what I think. Am I correct in assuming that this guy doesn't know who she is?
Yeah, that was kind of like it's like. Uh, have you ever seen Wallace and Gromit?
Yes, I
Or you heard of
barely remember it, but yeah.
So I'm going off like basis of like Gromit and how he reacts to his owner or
Oh,
his silly stuff that he does. Or so I was just kind
okay.
of using like the eyebrows as kind of the way to express his kind of like the situation, or in this case, body language as well.
Mm. Okay, okay, awesome. Maybe in that case, you could probably make him a little bit bigger and make him take up more of the space. Let's actually do that. Oops. Kind of add to the comedy of everything. So we're gonna take this. Oops, we're gonna take this and then we're gonna make the composition a little bit more focused on him and maybe shimmy a little bit less. Oh my goodness, it is lagging. Pardon me. This file is quite big. Here we're gonna lose a little bit of that panel, but we're gonna focus on his expression. So it's gonna be like more of a question of expressiveness. Maybe you could add more manpu here. It'd be like question mark. Really exaggerate or it's what we call pushing the pose. Like really put those shoulders up. Maybe um this could you could keep Shimi here, or you could keep her just as like a set of legs because she's like very tall, right? And then she could have her dialogue be like, I don't know, I had no idea who that was. Simple as that. And then this part could be the one in panel 3 could be something like, um what was her name?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. What do you think, Coach Karen? Anything else you might have to add to this one?
Mm. I do have something to add.
Go
um
ahead.
okay, so before I get to my 2 cents on this, can I ask you, Kanda, like, why did you like go with a more oblique panel for your 3 and 4? Like, what was your intention with like making this into like an oblique frame? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was just me playing about. I was just trying to
Mhm.
experiment with the panels. That was it.
Mm.
There's nothing
Mhm.
too fancy about it. I
Mhm.
didn't want anyone to look into it too deeply. I was just trying to see. I was just messing around with
Mhm.
the panel features on Studio on ClipPit. Oh, sorry, on Studio Clip Paint. That was it.
Ah, I see, I see. Okay,
And
okay, that's okay. I just wanted to like understand like the your thought process behind it. Gotcha. Okay, so you see, when you see oblique paneling in manga, that's usually when you're trying to convey either a very intense action or a very intense emotion. So that's the reason why I wanted to ask, because like, I guess in this situation it could be whatever is happening on panel 4, like
yeah.
which is your twist. And upon like, I gave a quick read through of like your entire storyboard for this one, and I feel like the way that you made this Yonkoma, I can see that your twist happens in your panel 4.
Mm-hmm.
In traditionally in Yonkoma, in Japanese Yonkoma, you see the twist happen in your panel 3, and panel 4 is the reaction to what the twist happening in 3. So, I mean, as it is right now, I think it already is great. But if you want to like challenge yourself to restructure the story of your manga to a more, traditional Kisho Tenketsu, what you could do is your two could already be, kind of like what Coach Fai mentioned earlier. I think she mentioned, correct me if I'm wrong, there's an opportunity for you to combine the events happening in 1 and 2. Because in your panel 1, the only thing that's happening there is your character saying hello. So basically, there's nothing much happening in panel 1 other than her showing herself. So the addition of the dialogue helps with that. When Coach Fai did the redraw where Shimi is already looking at your character entering. So the conversation between your character and Shimmy, that could happen in your first panel in of itself. And then in panel 2, you could go straight ahead to what you originally drew in your panel 3, because that's a good development. I think you did really well with your third panel. That could work as your panel 2. And then by the time that you get to panel 3, that's where you could get Shimmy to be like whispering to
This
who
this
is
is
this guy
character.
again? Yeah. Who is this guy again, Coach Pai?
What? I actually want to know. What's this
Yeah.
guy's name?
What's it?
Oh
Mouthless?
right.
I
So
like him.
his name is Gobby.
Come
I'm sorry.
again?
Gobby. Yeah. Gobby.
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 Yeah.
Gobby.
Gobby
Gobby.
the Goblin.
Ah,
Oh,
I
that's
see. That's
adorable.
so cute. Yeah. Like honestly, like I think what you could do is Shimmy's whispering to Gobby in panel 3, and then that's where panel 3 likes, Because the twist is apparently
Mm.
Shimmy doesn't know this character, and it makes it a lot more funnier because the other guy also doesn't know her, So that's something, if the story was structured that way, it feels more similar to what the Kisho Tenketsu story structure. But that is not to say that what you originally put isn't great in of itself. I'm not saying, that this is just a different approach that you could take if you want to follow that four act structure that we typically see in Yonkoma. Yeah. So that's my 2 cents. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it in general. Overall, I really like what you did, regardless. So, like Coach Karen said, it is a different approach. It doesn't necessarily mean that what you did was bad. And of course, we're all here in the critique so that we can learn more ways to improve everything. So, do you have any questions, Kenda, or clarifications, something that you want to share, like through talking to us and listening to this critique, something that, takeaways and anything, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Not at all. I think you explored um, my issues with pretty much in general when it comes to making a Yakuma. Really,
Mm-hmm.
just like position wise, because like you guys said, the drawing's fine and the grammar's fine, or the writing, I guess, is fine.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
with,
definitely.
but it's just mostly just like the precisions and just kind of making sure it's clear,
Mm-hmm.
because it is clear it's clear, but it's not clear enough if that's what you're trying to say.
It's definitely clear, but to follow the structure of manga and
Mhm.
to really make it more cohesive, like told within 4 panels with the manga structure. That's what we're trying to say. And definitely, as you've noticed, you know the rest of the things that you can work on are of course up to practice, but yeah, this is just like different ways to approach things, little improvements that you could do to really emphasize and like level up your storytelling skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree. Agree.
Thank you.
Yeah, you are very, very welcome, Kenda. And again, I like these characters. I have a special place in my heart for characters who don't talk. So I really like Gobby. He's really cute.
Yeah, that
And
was that was the attention for it, for his design.
aw.
It was make him look cute, but also like it was a very bad work because I'd done a lot. So that was kind of like one of the ones I wanted to post. There was one I wanted to um, post, but I couldn't because of the memory.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
it
I
was
see.
disappointing. So I
Do,
was
do
like,
you actually make comics often? Like, is this your first time, or have you made more in the past? Because you did mention that you use these characters like every now and then.
yeah. So I have made a comic book one time, but that was on Webtoons. But that was
Oh.
just me trying to practice the style. It's on Webtoons. It's called Tackle.
Oh.
One day I'll probably will finish that off. I don't know when, but then
I'm
I
sure you
started.
will.
Yeah. But I'm starting to work on my one shot and just developing characters at the moment.
I
And because I
see.
really fell in love with Gobby and the cast and just in general, I just thought, you know what, this would be good if I did it on a weekly sort of series. It would be funny, just general work
Oh.
stuff.
Okay. You know what? That's actually really great. So that explains why you look like you already have some experience here. Because I definitely caught wind of that. Great job. I want to say it's really cool that you're like dedicating yourself to doing something like consistently, because that is one of the things that we really want to emphasize to everybody who watches the channel, and also those who are in the program, in the Learn to Draw Manga program, is that it's not even about being good at it. It's about being consistent. Because like becoming skilled, that you can learn that. Anyone can learn that as long as you're open minded enough. But what takes a lot is being consistent and really doing something over and over for the sake of learning more, and because maybe you just enjoy it. So I really like it's really cool to hear that this is something that you've already been doing. I would love to see more of this cast, especially Gobby and the rest of your characters, especially because one thing that I wanted to reiterate to everybody watching is some of the best manga, whether it is a yonkoma, whether it is like 2 pages or 16 pages, the best manga always come from something that is experienced by the mangaka themselves. And not saying that you can't write about anything else, but just as simple as this. Oh, a typical situation at work which is really awkward but nobody wants to bring up. Forgot the name of somebody who's trying to be super friendly with you. That in itself is an earnest personal experience that you can translate into storytelling because you've been there. You know the awkwardness. You know the weird feeling that comes after, right? So again, Kenda, really good job on that. And I know that I believe that you did speak with Trisha recently, right? Is that correct?
Yes. So she knows about this as well because I've been sending her that as well.
Nice. Yeah. She did mention like just last night before we set up. So I'm really glad to hear that you got the opportunity to speak to her as well. And even I know, even better that we got to see some of your work here. So Kenda, I'm looking forward to seeing more of your stuff. And if you're worried about publishing or finishing that webtoon or those comics of yours, say that you're gonna do it and you're gonna do it.
Oh,
That's
no,
what I have to say.
yeah. To be fair, that one's more kind of just on hold, tackle. But the one I'm working
Mm.
on now, that's the big priority because I've done this. I wrote the story. I've done the character designs. I'm just trying to build up hype for it so that way people can be like, oh, he's releasing a comic book. Oh, a manga. Sorry, let's check this out. So I'm just trying to draw loads of characters in different poses and just get everyone hyped up for it.
Awesome, awesome. So again, thank you so much, Kenda, and I hope that you learned something from this session. So looks like Kenda posted his Instagram, Kenda_studio. So go ahead and support him, guys. And without further ado, we are going to move on to the next one. So thank you, Kenda, and I would like to call upon Ferenc, the Libra rat. I'm gonna ask you to unmute and please tell us about this Yonkoma, what it's about, what inspired it, anything that ran through your mind. Yeah. So hello, Ferenc. It is nice to see you again.
Oh, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Hello.
Oh, hello, everyone, and thank you, Trisha, and thank you, Faye.
Yes.
Um, the story is actually based before the Christmas with my brother. I actually pictured that as my sister,
Mm-hmm.
and we were actually discussing where should buy a Christmas gift
Oops.
for our mother.
Mm-hmm.
And we were heavily arguing about where should we buy the gift. So we decided two different thrift store, and in a second panel we find the gift for our mother
Mm-hmm.
for the Christmas. And in the third panel, it reveals that we actually bought the exact same gift for our mother. Actually, we pictured that as a Stanley Cup. And in the fourth panel, we're just basically arguing why didn't we go, did you buy the same stuff? Why couldn't we buy different stuff? So it was a kind of a funny discussion about that.
I
So she
see.
ended up with the two exact same gift for
I
mother
see.
for her mother.
Did you actually like this is real? Like this actually happened? You ended up buying her the same exact thing or was
Yeah, it's the exact same thing.
Oh my gosh. I
And
see. I
we didn't notice this. I mean, it had the same package, same stuff, and it was kind of funny at the end at the Christmas.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ferenc, for telling us about this. So, again, with the very small but relatable moments, these are what makes good manga, even in bite-sized forms like this. So I wanted to say the first thing that I want to commend you about here is you have a really really good use and flow of the kisho tenketsu that we keep mentioning. So you have your beginning, your development, the twist, which is very, very clear, and the reaction of all of the characters to the twist. It's all very well put. The pacing is just right. Oops, my bad. The pacing is really just right. And in terms of pacing, or anything about like how it is told in like the succession, I have nothing to say because it's really well put. Um, the dual I really like how the dual point of view here, the dual POV, really adds it actually adds more effect to the twist itself, because you see you and your well, for this comic I'm going to refer to them as your sister just for the comic. You have here on the left and on the right. It really adds to the whole, oh, we both bought the same thing but by accident. It's really clever. It's really clever. um I like how the background is really appropriately used, and it's still it's like it's got the same theme, but it also makes for some difference. Like here it's a different aisle, and here it's a different aisle. Here she saw it at the top of the shelf, and here you saw it at the bottom of the shelf, but it ended up being the same thing. I just think it's a really nice detail. I like the mystery that you put here. Like you didn't reveal what exactly it was or even its shape. You just kind of put the manpu of the little jagged lines here, and also that it adds to the feeling of, oh, they probably saw something different, right? Probably, but then like it's dispelled in the third panel. So yeah, everything is super crisp, and really really good job on this. This is really a really nice submission. So now going on to the improvement, here is where I think the perspective of the characters could be a little bit more improved, especially with regards to the background. So here you have the perspective a little bit like slightly from above, slightly from bird's eye. So if we were to draw it as a box, the aisles kind of look like this. But your characters, I noticed they are standing as if they are like as if we're looking at them from from straight on. So like without any perspective whatsoever, barely any. So I would it's a little bit of a nitpick here, but I would improve that. And I personally always start with the shoulders. So if I were to make some guidelines here, shoulders would be relatively similar, but it would look, actually let me put that overlay so it's a bit clearer. There we go. The poses actually in themselves are also really good. Actually there is barely anything I would change about them. Maybe in the third panel, but we'll get to that in a bit. And then you might want to make the heads, always rely on your guidelines to help you out. So the eyes would kind of be more this level. You could still show a little bit of the like the thought process, like the fact that okay, I'm thinking, I'm looking here, I'm trying to figure out a gift for mom. It shouldn't be too obscure. So it's going to be something like that for this one as well. So in the second and third panel, I think I would make the manpu, aka those little symbols that I've been talking about for the past critiques. I would make them pop out a little bit more. Your lines are very crisp, but these tend to blend in a little bit. So what I would do is I would probably thicken them a little bit and complete, like really complete the outline. So there's this. Also, since I know we know what the Stanley Cup looks like, um, since the thing that she saw is over here at least on this side of the panel, I think that this one is a little bit misleading. Maybe you could change it to something else that doesn't look super like specific. So, for example, it could just be like a simple, maybe a box, just like a very very unassuming box, because this one has too much detail that looks like it's the thing that she's trying to look at. So maybe very very unassuming, like just a box with a label. You don't even have to put anything on it, but we're going to emphasize this jagged line here as well. Yeah. And then with regards to pose, so the poses themselves, as I'm looking at it now, they're good, but I think we can improve them by just changing the silhouette a little bit more. So you're over here, like, oops, actually, let me duplicate this. So you are over here. You're like, oh, I finally found it. Exaggerate it a little bit more. Let's bring out those hands. Really to give that eureka feeling. Like, yay, I have finally found it. She's gonna love this one. Here, this one's looking pretty good. But yeah, just minor changes here. Oh, also, in panel one, because we're talking about mom, right? Uh, I would say you could probably change this to, instead of her, just straight up say mom, because we have another female character who looks a little bit clueless wandering through the store. So it might confuse people that, oh, is he talking about this person? Maybe the sister. So what should I buy mom for Christmas? Yeah. Another thing, maybe, you could also put the addition of those little thought bubble tails, if they are, if they are like thinking it at the same time, if it's a like spoken dialogue. Oops, I accidentally drew on the wrong layer. If it's spoken dialogue, you can just point the tails to both of them, just so that we can see like the duality of it, the dual perspective, dual POV. So here, the framing of everything looks really good. I love the expression, the double take. It really adds to it. Very well done. I think we might want to emphasize what the gift is. So again, I would recommend making an outline of the cups. So we're gonna outline them here again, just doing this very roughly, and then maybe a little bit more as well for the manpu of them, like showing it off. Hey, Merry Christmas! Now, as for the dialogue here of the mom, I would move her a little bit upwards because her dialogue is really small and it's a little bit hard to read, especially you want this to be really clear, especially because this is the twist itself. So I would probably enlarge this, and I'd be careful of it touching any part of her person. So you could make it a little bit bigger. Maybe you could even shorten it instead of G, the two of the same Stanley Cups. Maybe wait, it's the same. Or you could do variations of this, but maybe keep it a little bit short. Like the same thing, or I don't know, something like, did I got two of them? You know, maybe keep it to like a single line, just so that it doesn't take up too much space, because you want the readers to read this, because this is where, aside from this is where we see the twist. So yeah, in the last panel, I think this is pretty good. The only thing I would change is I don't want you to have a tangent, the tangent lines here with the manpu and the background. So I would probably simply extend the background a little bit more over here so that it really looks like that impact. And that would be it for my notes. What about you, Coach Karen? Anything you have to add?
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you a question, Fearing.
Mhm.
For your panel 3, can I ask, like, what did you want to emphasize here? Is it the Stanley Cup or is it the reaction? I think that's what I want to clarify first.
Good point.
Oh, um, how do you say that? When I did this Yonkoma,
Mm,
I wasn't myself very unsure if I should highlighting the Stanley Cup or the reaction to my mother. So I ended up standing back as our viewer,
mm,
and
mm,
highlighting this Stanley Cup. Oh, it's actually the same gift. And
mm,
the reaction of my mother should be kind of more sarcastically, or I don't know. I wasn't
I
really
see.
unsure for this, so
Mm,
really wanted to highlighting the Stanley Cup here. But
got it.
without the dialogue would be actually confusing what is
Mm.
going on in the third cup. So that's why I just hashly put the dialogue on the third panel.
Got it. Got it. Okay, so since that is like what your intent is, I think my takeaway from that is the gifts being similar and then the mom's reaction, right? So
Yes.
yeah, I want to recommend another way that you could show that same scene but better. So, I like what
Mhm.
you did with your panel 4, and part of me feels like maybe you should have gone with the same camera angle for your third panel. And the reason why I think that way is because in your panel, so can we zoom in a little bit, Coach Five? That's okay.
Sure, sure. Which one?
Yeah. Yeah, for panel 3, let's zoom in on your panel 3. Okay, so for me as a reader, speaking as a reader, I feel like it really matters if even if I'm looking at your entire uh manga from afar, I should be able to distinguish what is happening. And for me, your panel 3 is the most important one because we have the very large Merry Christmas, and then the back of your mom's head is closer to the camera. It takes away from what you intended to show in your panel 3. So, an alternative that we could do is instead of looking at your mom from the back, we could look at your mom. You can position these characters the same way that you did for your panel 4. And here's another thing. In manga, we have what we call in manga and, just visual storytelling in general, we have what we call the 180-degree rule. So, because we are looking at your mom from the back in panel 3 and you are positioned in the left stage left, and your
Oh,
sister
I
is
see.
positioned in the stage right, so there's a bit of a confusion with the continuity here. So
Oh, I
that's
see.
yeah, uh-huh. So here's what you
I
can do
see.
instead. Here's what you
I
can do
see.
instead.
I should have put the guy to the other side. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Oh,
what you could do instead, you could use the same staging in your panel 4. And similar to the feedback we gave, I think it was Jim earlier. You know how there's a bit of like foreshortening,
yes.
because the emphasis on the Stanley Cup. So maybe we see you and your sibling. They're trying to shove the Stanley Cup up into mom's face, like, "Mom, this is my gift." So that it's clear visually that they got the same gift. So maybe that's closer, and then by positioning the mom maybe from the front instead of seeing her from the back, even if you did not include the dialogue, even if, let's say, let's pretend you didn't include mom's dialogue here, like the G2 same Stanley Cup, just by looking at her expression alone, like her bewilderment, her like, huh, her confusion, like, okay, even if you didn't have dialogue, just seeing her reaction is kind of like, it kind of enhances, or it delivers right hook and center what you're trying to say. So yeah, kind of like that, like what Coach Fi is doing in thumbnails right now. And maybe we could use the speech bubble hack again, like the reactions, them looking at each other. I'm like, what, you got the same thing? I'm like, what? Or maybe, and just to like hit it home even further, maybe when they were saying Merry Christmas, maybe they don't completely say it. Maybe you could go Merry Chris, huh? You could do something like that, just to hit it home even further, that that's the situation that they're in. That's the twist that you're trying to introduce. Yeah. So that's my 2 cents. Yeah. Okay. Do you have any questions about that?
Um,
Mm-hmm.
On the fourth panel, I mean, the switching the position for the guy and the sister. How do you call it? 180-degree
Yeah.
rule.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
the one. Yeah.
absolutely. That is it.
Right. No,
Mm-hmm.
this makes on the fourth panel, this makes much more sense because when we move the camera to the other side, it shouldn't be on the same position, not on switching position. So no, this makes absolutely sense on the fourth panel. So I absolutely didn't realize that. So
Mm-hmm.
this is great, really great advice.
Okay, glad to hear that, Frank. Yeah. Okay. So I think that's about it from me, Coach Five. Back to you.
Okay. Actually, Coach Karen, you mentioned something that did kind of fly over my head. So good job. Thank you for that. And I can tell Frank that it sounded like you kind of had an epiphany, like a big realization here. So do you have any other questions about anything else that we said? Any other specific like standout things that you learned from today? Anything that you want to share about the experience being critiqued here?
Um, I was actually asking about the shading because I wasn't
Mm.
also unsure if I should actually shading the panels or not. And I'm really miserable at the shading, so
Mm.
I just scribbled that anything that should actually fit on this panel.
Okay. So what I have to say for that is it's actually again similar to what I mentioned um,
Mhm.
to Jim a while ago. So to Jim, I mentioned to Jim that he can experiment here with what might work for him. Sometimes it might be putting shading, sometimes it might be putting hatching, sometimes it might not need it at all. For you, what I want to say is I think that the way your comic is laid out here, it actually does I feel like it doesn't need it, but if you feel that you want to experiment with it, I think that you totally should. And it's about seeing what works. It's something that we can't really tell you specifically because it's where your creativity comes in. It's where your artistic identity comes in. Like we sorry, we don't want to it's something that we can't say that oh this would absolutely look better with this kind of shading, that kind of shading. One piece of advice that I could give you is maybe you could look up some artists, some manga artists, especially on YouTube. There are a lot of tutorials about how to do shading for manga. Traditionally, there should be a couple of blogs online that you could go look up. There are plenty of resources that I encourage you to take up in terms of that. For this comic specifically, I don't feel that you need it much, but because I'm sensing that it's something you just want to study in general, you know, you start with something small. Maybe you can make another Yonkoma for yourself, or if you want to, you could even remake this with the same feedback that we gave, and then try to apply something that you looked up online. Yeah, I hope that that answers your question.
Okay, I will try it. I will look up onto YouTube.
Definitely. I really look forward to that. If you ever do uh any sort of redraw or anything, do let us know. We'd love to see it and we'd love to see more from you in general for rank. So congratulations on finishing this and thank you so much.
I
Awesome.
thank you very much for the critics and also thank for all the mangaka community here in the channel. You're awesome guys.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I'm very glad to hear that. Okay, so
Yeah.
let us move on to the last one. I would like to call upon Megan. I think I saw you here. You're just under a different username, I believe. Whoops. Hang on. I think I lost my Zoom window. So I believe you are under the name like TMNT fan or something. Are you there, Megan? And can you where are you? There we go. I'm going to ask you to unmute. And I did read a little bit of your description here, but let's also tell our audience here what your Yonkoma was about. Anything you experienced or thought of while you were making it. So, hello, Megan. And hi. Yeah, tell us a
So,
little bit more about this.
so yes.
Mm-hmm.
my this is about uh my brother that
Mm.
away in 2022. It's it's been real difficult for me during the holidays since he passed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at a photo of him on my phone,
Mm-hmm.
and I am really emotional about it. And
Mm.
I'm saying, I'm telling him Merry Christmas and I love him. And then on the last panel, it shows his name and year he was born, the year he was born, and the year he died.
Mm. I see. Can I ask if this is like a pendant? Like is this what you're wearing in the photo in the panel 3?
Yes,
I see. I see.
Before you continue, Coach Violet, I
Yeah.
just want to say on behalf of the team, that we're really, we're really touched that you, shared a bit about, a part of your brother with us, so I think that's a really brave thing.
Mm.
And we feel very honored to like be providing feedback. Thank you for sharing, being brave to share this experience, and we hope that the feedback that you get from the session is going to be helpful in encouraging you to make more, you know more stories that touch people's hearts in the future. So just want to preface that. Yeah,
Oh
and
yeah.
thank you. Thank you for sending this in. Yeah.
Yeah.
you're
So
welcome.
yeah. And again, I'm just gonna echo that. I really, really appreciate that you put something so personal and heartfelt. I do want to say condolences to you and your family. It's clear that your brother means and still meant and still means a lot to you. So it
Yeah,
means a lot that you put in something very real and emotional into this, and for showing us that. Yeah. So, it's a great way to pay tribute to him as well. I appreciate how let me look at my notes here. I really appreciate how touching this is. It's simple and it's also to the point. So I've been mentioning over and over that the best manga come from real experiences, right? And sometimes there's small cute little moments like we've had with Jim, with Kenda, with Ferenc, and sometimes they're deeper, they run deeper, and they're the ones that are, like you said, you were very emotional doing this because it's a it's a sensitive part of your personal story, and that is exactly what you can channel into art. And once again, it's amazing that you were able to do this, and it's a great way to pay tribute to him. So yeah. um Moving on to how to improve this tribute to your beloved brother, my first comment is that the flow is in itself is good, and what I would recommend is simply to switch panels 3 and 4. So the twist or the change to the story is that we find out that your brother has actually passed away, and this is what you're looking at in the panel here, second panel, is a memory of him. So we want to put that in the third panel. And the fourth panel is kind of going to be your reaction. It's going to be, the general, like, in sort of the equivalent of the falling action of the Western act structure. So instead, we are going to put this locket here. Oops, I think wrong layer. We are going to put this locket here in panel 3. So it should come in the third, so we're gonna switch it. We want to see more of the necklace as well in panel 4. And we need to emphasize that this is a necklace. So what I would do is probably I might add like the color of your shirt here. So I'm gonna put this in black. And then I'm going to color it with your skin tone here. I think that um we could probably change the string of the locket to be a little lighter so that it stands out more, because the locket is the special part, right? So we want it to stand out more. So I'm not necessarily white, maybe just a little bit lighter. So I would change it to something lighter here. Just the same, I'm gonna do the same on the last panel. And then maybe add very, very minor like wrinkles to the clothes, just to show that this is a locket that the character, aka you in the comic that you are wearing. Just a simple, like simple, nothing too flashy wrinkles, maybe even a little bit of shading underneath the locket to make it really look a lot more special. Another thing is maybe you could even add like a few highlights because you are looking at the phone. So it's like you're looking at a memory of your brother. So this light is coming from the phone just to add a little bit more continuity. In panel 2, maybe you could put like a little bit of a ray of light here. Like if I had to put this, since I can tell that you made this digitally, maybe you could overlay something like something like this. Very, very simple. And then I'm gonna fade this out. So there is light from this cell phone. And then here we can kind of put like a little bit of those rays. And this is more of like visually. I'm kind of putting more emphasis on the emotion of this scene. It's a heartfelt memory. It's a rough place to be. So we're gonna add some dramatic lighting. Oops, actually wrong layer. Oh wait, hang on. There we go. And then I'm gonna fade it out a little bit more. Here in the last panel, this is good. Maybe we can make it a slightly slightly less tight shot. So let me, oops, my bad. So what I mean by this is we're gonna zoom this part out a tiny, tiny little bit so that we can make room for the adjustments. So here, what I'm gonna do is I would bring the phone a little bit lower, and then we'll have your hand or just a little bit your finger right here. So it's not super super seen because we want to see the locket. So I'm gonna put the locket somewhere here. And for the sake of just being visible while I'm doing some of the edits here, I'll make it green. Making it a little bit rough here, so something like that. There we go. Because we want the continuity from panel 3 to panel 4. So we want to see that, oh, this is a locket and she's wearing it in tribute to her brother. And then we can still have like the rays of the phone kind of shining on you. And a couple little, very, very bare highlights here and there on the skin. Yeah. And the the little dialogue there is heartfelt enough. It drives the point. I wouldn't change this. Um, it's from him. This is you and your emotions. And that is actually all the feedback that I have here. Is very short and to the point. What do you think, Coach Karen?
Yeah, I actually have nothing to add. I agree with everything that Coach Fi has mentioned. I what I love about what you made for this Yonkoma Megan is I believe that you chose you did good, you chose very good angles to convey the feelings that you want to emphasize in each panel, and consider that a decent skill because most of the time, when it comes to like visual storytelling, we have an emotion that we want to convey, but we're not using the right angles for it. But in your case, just a little bit of adjustment is needed, but you chose the right points to zoom in and zoom out to, like, just punch us with the feels and all that. So good job. Good job.
Yeah. So, yeah, do you have any questions, Megan? Reactions, thoughts, anything that you took away from this? Hello, Megan, are you still there? Okay, I think I can see you in the I can see.
Got it. Hang on.
Oh, there. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
Uh
let's there we go. Oop, let me try again.
yeah, I think Zoom might be bugging out on us again.
Yeah.
There we go.
Can
There
you
we
hear
go.
me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What was your question again? I'm sorry.
Oh, we just wanted to ask if you had any questions yourself or any clarifications, anything you particularly took away from this insights from this session, or just something you want to share about the experience making this or hearing our feedback.
Uh, uh, I just want to say that I learned that certain angles and
Mm-hmm.
like just certain details is really important. They can make all the difference.
Definitely, that is it. It's very true. Sometimes, it's just the smallest adjustments, indeed. And I'm glad that you were able to, I'm glad that you were able to, take that away from this session in general. Yeah. So thank
Oh
you
yes.
so much. I'm so sorry that you have something to add. I think I
Oh
lagged a little
yes.
bit.
Just yeah. I also wanted to say sometimes I had uh issues with adding detail to clothing and stuff
Mm.
like that. Sometimes I feel like it just don't look right.
Okay. So, this is where we encourage you to do your own research and studies. So, one of the quickest ways to be able to start to get a grasp of things like clothing is to simply look at some references and try to copy what you have down and look at it in like simpler shapes. It takes quite a while to get there to a place where it feels natural to do studies, but it's a general piece of advice to all of you artists out there as well, whether you're struggling with clothing or maybe like poses or faces or angles. Yeah, so I really encourage you to go ahead and do your own studies of clothing. The feedback that I gave here, the things that you can put like the wrinkles and stuff are very very minimal, but if you're gonna be doing anything in the future, yeah, research is your friend, so go and get all of your references and keep them on hand. Yeah, I hope that that helps.
It did.
Okay. So once again, Megan, thank you so much for sharing this. It's a beautiful Yonkoma. As heart wrenching as it is, it's a wonderful way to pay tribute to your brother. I'm sure he would have been really proud of you. And I think a lot of people here can really, the chat here is also really, they're extending their hearts out to you as well. So congratulations on making this. And thank you so much for showing us such a personal part of your life.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, guys. So we are done for this part, but we are not quite done with the whole thing yet.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
floor is yours, Coach Karen.
Yes, thank you so much, Coach Fi. And also, I just want to say like a big congrats to everyone who showed up. So I want to remind you guys again. So even if you did not get picked, I want to encourage you to like look back on this experience being here, because there's a lot to learn, like what I said in the YouTube chat just now. There's a lot to gain from listening to feedback from other people. So even though yours did not get picked, again, like what Coach Fi said earlier, we want you guys to be drawing manga, drawing Yonkoma, not because, you want to like get reviewed or anything, but you do it because you enjoy it. Because every time that you make something, you improve little by little. The more you make, the more you learn. I remember one of our mentors was here earlier, and they said exactly that. Shout out to Jackson if you see, to Art Crumbs if you see us in the replay. So yeah, and of course, for everyone. So I don't think we have much time to share the takeaways. So, feel free to drop them in the chat. We would love to hear it, and we'll circle back on them in a bit. But first, now that you guys know how to polish your yonkumas even further, we want to ask you, are you an action taker who seriously wants to take your manga art and storytelling skills to the next level? Are you goal driven and believe it's your mission to share your story with the world and commit and reach your full potential? And are you a determined mangaka who wants to put your story out there by joining contests and eventually working with publishers? So if this is you, if you're the type of this is the type of mangaka that you are, yes, type yes in the chat. Yeah, I can see one of our students here. Shout out to Monahan. Yay. All right. So if
Hi, Jay.
you hello, Jay. Welcome, welcome. So, if you answered yes to any of these questions, then we are inviting you to apply to our one shot manga drawing program. So, just like our students, you learned everything from manga drawing basics to crafting a full one shot manga from start to finish. So, we will see we have some of the works of our students, so they were able to accomplish so much in just a few months, and some of them are already gearing up to join contests this year. Yeah, like kind of like Jay over here. Shout out to Jay again. Yeah, all right. So, if you want to we want to work with our pro mangaka mentors and coaches, then if you're in it if you're in it to win it, and now that you've seen the results, you've seen how your coaches are able to help fellow aspiring mangaka like you in this session, then I want you guys to declare that you want in on this too. You want in on this opportunity to learn to learn and grow and succeed all together. Yeah. Yay! We're seeing Jim. I want in. Yes, yes. Declare that right now. So if you want to make your time making manga more meaningful and more productive, then our online one-shot manga drawing program is for you. So we're on a mission to accelerate your growth all while having fun learning together. And you'll have our amazing pro mangaka mentors to guide you. We've got Steph Pastrano, the professional webtoon artist of Me or Her, and we got Naoyazawa, the creator of Wedding Peach, and also our awesome Rana Saya, who's also both of them have collectively have 50 years of experience in the industry. And we also have Art Crumbs, the creator of God's Bane and the Viz Originals one shot Onami. So this program is definitely for you if you're committed to making your own manga, if you have a unique story that you want to share with the world by joining contests and getting published, and you are done figuring this out alone and are ready to learn from our amazing mangaka mentors. And of course, this is for you if you want to connect with fellow mangakas who seek consistency and empowerment. This is really important because we don't want wishy-washy students, okay? We don't want we don't want people who are just saying, yeah, I want this, but don't put in the work. So if this is you, then you are invited to apply and join our one shot manga drawing program. So new term starts next week. So that's actually on January 20th. Enrollment is still open until January 20th, and we only accept applicants who are 18 years old and above. So if you're under 18, well, we still have a wealth of information, of tips and tricks on manga making that you can find in our channel. But if you're 18 and you're ready to commit, you want to start your manga journey with us right now, then book a free manga consultation call with us, you can take a screenshot right now, or you can go ahead and scan the QR code, or you can use the link that our coach Faya sent in the chat to book that call. So I think some of you have already booked a call with us. So if you already did, we want to know. Like, we want to know if you already did. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I think I think this having some hyperlink issues with Zoom. Zoom is funny. But yeah, so just like our students, I want to see you guys next week. I'm excited. I feel like I'm confident that some of you who are here in the Zoom right now, and maybe some from our YouTube live, maybe we get to see you next week. Who knows? Yeah. Okay. Oh well, so don't worry guys, because we will have that link available. Yeah, Rubicon. Yeah, Rubicon is gonna be joining us. Yeah, so yeah, we're super excited to meet you next week. I'm already seeing some of the new students who are in. You belong to the a little circle of eldritch terrors who want to go ahead and get with the manga journey. There we go.
There
Yeah,
you go. So
that's
I
awesome.
I'm seeing some people, if you're worried that you can't make it to January 20, so just like what Jim is saying, we're still going to be reopening slots. But of
Mm-hmm.
course, these are always limited. So even if you're, let's say, maybe you're saving up or something, we still want you to book that call. So, we can
Mm-hmm.
kind of help you out and form a plan for you so that you can secure your slot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. So there we have it. Okay. Yeah. I'm getting. Yeah. I'm seeing the. Yeah. All right. All right. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. We have this little saying called "Where will you be tomorrow if you start today?" It's a free manga consultation call. You're free to take that beautiful leap, and you get the chance to talk with Trisha. So she's the one who started it all, and all of the questions that you have about the program. We're actually starting something very exciting this year. Don't spoil it, students. Well, no, the students who are here, don't spoil it. Okay. They'll know about that if they book that call. Yeah, but we're starting a very exciting thing this year. It's all new, it's all exciting, and it's gonna be a lot more tailored to what your goals are as a manga artist. So we're not gonna talk about that here because by doing this we would know who wants to take that shot. Yeah. All right. Okay, so I'm not gonna keep you guys here for long. So you'll have that link available in. I feel it's available in the description of the replay, right? So if you're ready to book that call, the link is right there. And that's about it. Yeah. So unfortunately, we don't have enough time for questions right now, but you're always free to post them in the comments or send us an email, and we'll get to you as soon as we can.
Yeah.
Yay.
Again,
All right.
guys, if you didn't see yourself here, take it as practice. It is never a bad thing to keep creating. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that we didn't like your Yonkoma. It just means that we have quite a lot to get to. So take this as an opportunity to practice, to just keep on improving. If you have any insights or
Mm-hmm.
things that you learned from today, things that stood out to you from today, keep note of them and you can send us an email. You can even comment them in the YouTube live as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Hey, I think that's about it. This has been Coach Karen and Coach Pai. And we'll see you all in the next one. Thank you so much, guys, for coming. We can't wait to have you in class next week. Yay!
Thank you so much, everyone. Looking forward to meeting our new students and maybe for some of you in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have a great day,
We'll see,
everybody.
see you next time. Bye bye. Take
Bye bye,
care.
everyone.
Yay!